To become a commercial cinematographer, we need to shoot the stuff we want to be hired for. So that's exactly what I did. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the entire process of my latest Spec commercial, and at the very end, the important lessons I've learned. Starting in pre-production, Chris, Josh, and I had multiple meetings where we talked about our personal goals with Spec work and the potential concepts we wanted to make. We finally landed on a commercial for Coffee Meets Bagel, the dating app, based on the theme that opposites attract. Once we locked this in, Josh, the director, got to work on making a treatment. This treatment covered the goal, the concept, the visuals, and our team so far. The reason we even made a treatment was because we wanted to pitch this idea to the company and see if they were interested in funding it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get through to them, but at the very least, we got some practice in on making treatments. The storyboard and shot listing process began with Josh drawing up the storyboards because he's an amazing artist. After he did that, both me and him met to talk about the storyboards, transferring them into the shot list, and in the meantime, making sure that they were feasible and told the story. And of course, we did this all in Milanote. The challenge within the storyboard and shot list process was having to revise it multiple times because of the script changes and the logistical issues we were facing later in production. Chris and I actually took a day to visit our shoot locations, and this was more than having a coffee lunch. The purpose of this was to exactly figure out how we were going to shoot this by pre-vising it and drawing lighting plans based on the locations. For all my gearheads, the main things we used were the red Komodo, the Cooke S4i mini lenses, a Dana dolly, and a bunch of additional camera and lighting equipment. On top of that, I had to rent my favorite piece of equipment, the Hollyland Solid Comms. We started our day outside by shooting the scenes with our female lead Helena, and since we did the location scout, I kept track of where the sun was going to be at each location, and because of this, during the shoot, we shot all the shots in a way where the sun would either be backlighting or sidelighting our subject. It also helped that it was all overcast. Our second location was actually Chris's house, and we prepped it for our home office scene with our male lead Guy. How we lit the scene was by using a 1200 and blasting it through the blinds to create texture. We also used a new IntelliTech as our soft key, and then put up an 8x8 solid camera right to create shadows. We then moved on to the coffee shop, which was the most challenging setup of the day, relatively, but not as much because we had our tech scout day. How we lit this was creating a moonlight effect from the outside with a lantern and the 600. How we lit the inside was by balancing a 1200 as a room fill, top lighting with the Amaran F22C, and filling it with the IntelliTech. We also added some hair lights with the Amaran tubes, and we floppied around the location to create shadows. Overall, the production day went really well and relatively smooth. We had a great team, and I'm happy it didn't rain or snow, but I do wish we had some direct sunlight. The challenge with the shoot was that we had to wear multiple hats, so not only were we behind schedule at times, the production quality wasn't at the standard I'd really hoped for. I'll get into that a bit more when I talk about my takeaways. When I began post-production, I quickly noticed that the story we had laid out in pre didn't translate so well, so I had to change up the order of some shots for pacing and flow. Besides that, editing for me was relatively simple. It took about 5 revisions for Josh, Chris, and I to be very happy with the video, and then we moved on to coloring. Now, coloring for me was super fun because I met up with our colorist Jesse at his place and we did a quick session to set the looks. Like all my work, my direction for him was to make it look as natural as possible and pop certain colors. Where the post-process slowed down by weeks to a month was VFX, because before this shoot, I had little to no idea or experience in working with the VFX artist. I knew the effects I wanted, but once I got to work on the first trial with Matt, I learned that it was a bit more complicated than copying and pasting a random image from Google. You actually had to build out the animations or graphic assets. Safe to say, I learned my lesson pretty quickly, and with that, our VFX person Amber was able to create exactly what I wanted, and now I know going forward what to do. Without talented Josh's, not only did he write and direct, he also composed the music. He used the inspiration music I found on Artlist and revised it so it has some of his own sauce and worked with our project. Like every project I do, here are my 3 takeaways from this one. Story above everything else. Despite facing challenges in selecting our final concept, we managed to have a good story foundation. However, we learned that rushing this process and thinking more about the cool shots than our home run story idea led to what you could call missed opportunities and made me feel like shit. Point 2 is research is key. This whole experience also showed me the importance of personalizing the Spec commercials for the companies you're making it for. I've already started developing my next ones, and at the top of my list is to spend more time researching both the marketing and creative side of the business so we can represent them positively. And point 3, however you want to do a 3, is have art. While we considered wardrobe choices for this commercial, the non-existence of an experienced production designer was pain. this had a really big impact on the overall production quality, and luckily I've already learned from this. And with the last client commercial I shot, I took a big cut out of my own rate to make sure that we had someone handling art. And I have to say, I am never doing another production without an art department. So if you work in art, hit me up because I'll probably have work for you. I know I talked about more of the negatives than the positives, at least in the last 60 seconds or so, but to end on a good note, I have to remind myself, and for whoever else is watching, that completing a project is more important than making it perfect. And again, as you've heard from this video and probably multiple videos of mine before or out on the interwebs, mistakes happen, and that's just a part of the lifestyle and game we are living. The importance is to reflect on them and become better and never make them again. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this video. Check out the commercial if you haven't already, and stay tuned because the next ones are only gonna be better.
Sony gang. But we're shooting on red, but Sony gang. Sony gang.